All right, all right. How y'all doing? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to the newest edition of Duets. I am here today live at the Hi Ho Lounge in beautiful, beautiful New Orleans, Louisiana. Thank y'all for joining us. Thank y'all for coming in. My name is Nate Cameron. I'm a board member with the Music and Culture Coalition, which is MaCCNO, here in New Orleans. We're just so grateful to have you all here. We're so grateful to have you all viewing. We have been doing this wonderful, wonderful series called Duets. This is the fourth installment, I believe. The fourth installment. And what we've really been trying to do with MaCCNO is just normalize talking to and listening to some of our culture bearers, our musicians, the people in our communities who really, really, really have been here, who weathered, the storms that come, literal, figuratively, all these other different things. And so we've had a bunch of different installments. A lot of those are on our pages, on the MaCCNO Facebook page, on the Hi Ho Facebook page, if you want to go back and check this out. But Duets really, just in short, is replacing our annual fundraiser. We would normally be having in person our annual fundraiser, but we know because of COVID and these beautiful masks that you see everybody have on, but because of COVID, we're not gathering and we can't do that safely. So in exchange, we were just trying to figure out how can we raise some money for MaCCNO to continue doing some of the advocacy work that they're doing on behalf of the culture bearers and musicians, but also bring some awareness to some of these people that have been doing it, putting in the work, and that are huge contributors to the culture. And we just want to hear what they're saying. People that we normally would be enjoying their music and enjoying their artistic creations, they don't always get the opportunity to talk about that and to talk about their views. And so we want to normalize that. We want to normalize, respecting and knowing the wealth of some of our folks. And so without any further ado, I am honored to have two gentlemen here who I'm personally fans of and have been fans of for a lot of different reasons. And so we're going to start here to my left. This gentleman here is a native New Orleanian musician, producer, DJ, event coordinator, band leader. And I think I was just scrolling down Facebook and I saw him on a bass drum at a socially distanced second line just the other day. That's just the kind of cat he is. He all over the place, but a very, very good heart, very humble cat, very involved in the New Orleans music scene that has been for a while, and you'll learn that more, but none other than Mr. Khris Royal, man. Y'all show some love to Mr. Khris Royal. We'll talk a little bit more about Khris and what he's done and the stamp that he's left and some of the things that he's still doing. But this other gentleman here now, he is another one that I have been looking up to since I was smaller. Has played with and done some musical things that have opened the doors for a lot of us here in New Orleans. A lot of people know the work that I do on the management side with Tank and the Bangers. And I tell a lot of folks when we do interviews that, if it were not for, certain groups and certain musicians, there were certain doors that wouldn't be open for us to even be heard coming from New Orleans and being off the beaten path of commercial pop music. And so obviously, a lot of people know this gentleman from his work with the Meters, but is a musician, a producer who's done so much more beyond that. We'll talk to him more about that, but also a native New Orleanian, Mr. George Porter Jr. Yeah. So check it out. So tonight, as we're tuning in, we want you all to share it. We want you to tell your folks to come on in. We're going to talk about some current issues. We also want you to make sure that you're donating to MaCCNO because, like we said, this is replacing our annual fundraiser. So if you're on PayPal, at Music Culture 504. If you're on Cash App, it's the $ Music Culture 504. Website is MaCCNO, MaCCNO.com. Check us out. Throw us some ducats. Let's keep these conversations going. Let's keep these artists getting some stuff going. So without any further ado, let's just get right into it, man. I'm going to ask the first question, and anybody who wants to jump into it, please just jump in. But what part of town are you from, and how does that influence and inspire your artistry?
Well, age before beauty.
I was always taught to respect my elders, so I'm going to defer to Mr. Porter on that one.
Now, for those who don't know, these two have traveled together and have worked together for many years, so they got all kind of little side jokes and yeah.
I grew up in the East, and I have to say, growing up out there didn't influence me musically very much, other than during my middle school years, I was in the marching band at Fantasy Williams.
Okay.
So it was weird. Like my elementary school, I went to elementary school right up the street from here, actually at McDonald 15 on St. Philip and Royal Street.
15.
And we had a second line band, we had a stage band, we had like a jazz combo. So I was already playing in elementary school. And my mom got pregnant with my little brother when I was in middle school. So I had to go to the neighborhood school because she wasn't going to sit in traffic for 2 hours every day to bring me to school.
Yeah.
So I was in the marching band. And man, I wasn't really listening to much pop music at the time. I was already like a jazz nerd, but that kind of opened me up being in the marching band. So I guess that kind of influenced me because nowadays I'm doing more stuff that way than I'm doing stuff on the jazz front. So I guess it did influence me being out in the East. Never really thought about it till now.
It's good to know, George.
Well, I'm a New Orleans born from the Third Ward, which is
Uptown.
which was like my original home was 2 blocks from Paris Prison on Grandview Street. So it was. We had in our neighborhood we had a social pleasure club called the Jolly Bunch. And so, on a probably, and they were older guys there. So almost every week or every other week, one of them was dying. So I saw second lines, from 2 years old on up. I saw second lines. So that part of music, I guess for me was like something, that pocket that was so well engraved, and the bands that like followed, the Dozen and all those guys came from that school of music, that and I remember when the Dozen was like that more than when they made that turn, they turned that corner.
Right, because they were doing traditional stuff.
Right, they were into the traditional thing, and when they turned the corner and they opened up another door for brass bands to look at the music. But for me being a little bit more curious, I was kind of like, what the hell did they do that for? I didn't turn off to it, but I was just kind of trying to figure out where, because one of the things I wasn't, my pop was he like Sonny Stitt and Stanley Turrentine. He was big on those saxophone players, and he liked he dug Alice Coltrane's only. I think she did one B3 record.
Oh, I need to check that out.
And he was a big fan of that record. Now he didn't like the stuff she did on the harps and stuff, but the B3 thing, and I think it was just that one record. But so that's the kind of stuff I was hearing in the house, and between the stuff in the house, and then of course 70. Well, that's put. I'll be 73 this year, so that's make me about 5 now. Okay, so at 5 years old, we had WBOK. This is before WYOD came on the play, ain't it? But we had WBOK and wasn't TIX. It was that other station. I can't remember what it was. But those 2 radio stations played more New Orleans music. It was like. It was, man, you heard all of the guys.
You were surrounded by.
Smiley Lewis, you heard all of those old guys that that you don't even hear them. I even slapped OZ around a little bit because they forgot some of those guys,
Yeah.
But Alshon Robinson, I remember hearing Alshon Robinson when I was 7 years old, and didn't know who he was, but he had a way of singing Something You Got that it was like, wow, It was like where that came from. For me, that was like the whole growing up in New Orleans. I saw where we were getting a bunch of attention. Then I started noticing that the attention was only to accumulate and to take away. You know,
Wow.
it was you know, there were pockets, deep pockets coming in, but they weren't investing in us. They were just coming to see how we created or did things and took it away from.
That's crazy.
You know?
The same thing's happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny you said that. I mean, you had a couple Jews in what you just said, but something that you just said that I was actually going to segue into, just personally knowing you both and knowing the relationship that you and Khris have musically and personally, and then also knowing the relationship that you have with my grandfather-in-law Snooks Eaglin, and how, you know, you all were working and you worked under him. And I know, you know, one thing that I talk about that I, you know, would see a lot in our culture, and going back to what you said about the Jolly Group and all, with that we had, you know, sort of mentors. We musicians had older musicians that they would aspire to be, and a lot of times those were people in our neighborhoods, you know, and whether or not it was somebody you met or not, 9 times out of 10 it was somebody who you met or you got to see play or something. But, you know, that's something I think we've gotten away from, and I think that, you know, that it would do our community a whole lot more good to have a lot of the musicians who've been there, done that, big up and connect with and kind of bridge that gap with some of the younger folks. I mean, I just think that would benefit the economy as a whole. Do you have something
I
you want to say
think
about that, Khris?
it still happens, but it's different because, like, I look at George as one of my biggest mentors. Like, he, you know, saw me and reached out and encouraged me and brought me out. So it still happens, but it's not a direct line like you were talking about in the neighborhood. Yeah. But now it just takes a little bit longer. Like, cats have to be old enough to go to Maple Leaf and sit in and hang out.
That's true.
And, you know, be seen by the elders. Yeah. So it happens, but it's a little bit different now.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea of us making ourselves available to the younger people. Well, for a while before the situation we're in now, but I remember watching Deborah Vodakovich do these clinics up at Tipitina's, you know, on Sundays for, you know, for the young people, and Johnny would bring in you know, guests. You know, I was a guest a couple of times. He brought in you know, some of the guitar players, even the Dickerson brothers came down one time, you know, and hung out with him on a Sunday, you know. Yeah. And but I think that one of the things that when I watched that happen is that, you know, it was like presenting music to young people, but you're presenting it over their head. You know, I just, you know, and I have not figured that out, because I mean, I get called all the time. People want to know, am I, you know, giving lessons and stuff? And you know, I always say no, because it's like, I don't know how to tell somebody that you have to forget everything you know and start from the beginning, you know, and learn about the thing, you know, because a lot of the players that want to come take lessons from me got better chops than I do, you know.
And they think they know how to play already.
So they say, man, well, hey, look, bro, what you doing is cool, but where's the groove?
Exactly.
You know, you know what I'm saying? You know, I mean.
But I was a young cat with those chops, and I did all of that, and I thought that was a thing. But it was because I had those mentorships from those older cats that they were like, look, those chops are good, but what's up with Pocket?
Yeah,
right. Pocket is what gets paid. You know, what's up with knowing, you know, with knowing everything and the intricacies of this song besides just the extra licks or studying this person's lick and slapping it on this song or this groove. I mean, but yeah, I think that's where, to both of you all's point, that's where that mentorship is important. And a lot of different areas, a lot of different areas. I think that mentorship is important because you have a lot of folks who have already kind of sort of made those proverbial mistakes, and we don't want to. That's something I see a lot in our, you know, music economy too, because we have that disconnect. We see a lot of the same generational mistakes kind of sort of happen. I know you all can speak on it, from contractual mistakes to just branding yourself as a musician or musicianship. I mean, we just see a lot of those things kind of continually happen because we don't have those folks coming and saying, hey, look, that doesn't work. How does this work? You know, so I mean, I think that's something awesome. And like you said, I mean, kudos to George for being an open book because
Yeah.
not everybody is like that, and especially somebody as accomplished as yourself, being an open book and wanting to give back to the younger generation coming up and passing that torch. I mean, that is catamount to us passing and empowering and passing on this great culture.
Yeah. I would like to jump on what he said about the Tipitina's thing, because we actually did it a couple of times with Dark Matter, and we went full. For those of you that don't know, Dark Matter is a little different from a normal New Orleans funk band.
Oh yeah.
But from doing that, there's a bad bass player, there's a really dope singer, and this really killing sax player that I met through there that I still keep in touch with.
Yeah.
So that program was really awesome. I would like to see Tips and Stanton and the guys bring that back.
There was a little drummer. There was a little drummer in there.
There was a drummer. That drummer used to play at the church I was playing at, actually. Yeah, that drummer was killing. I know what you're talking about.
This kid was treacherous, man. He had so many chops, and he had, and one of the things that I remember kind of, reaching over, telling him and saying, man, like, that's really good what you're doing, but you have to find a way to say that and leave space for other voices to happen. You can't fill up all of the holes. You got to leave some of them holes there.
Right. That's what I'm talking.
Man, I went away for 10 years. And one day at the Maple Leaf, man, this kid came in, and wanted to sit in. And Terrence knew him, and Terrence said, "Oh yeah, well I kind of remember." Now he has a fro and everything, and he was, and he came sit in, and when he started playing, I recognized those chops he had, and I said, "Oh, that's you."
All grown up.
That's killer.
It's like, and I was like, "Pete, but." He had what he was doing now is that he had the chops, but he didn't have to use them all the time.
Right.
And a lot of people, see, because they say that I've had people tell me, I go to Europe, and when I go to Europe, a couple of times I took running partners over there, and the guy who brings us over there, he has his band plays with us, and we kind of like tour with them, And but his drummer, is like, I don't know if it's like you want to say he's a purist.
Mm-hmm.
So when we had done that record of all those meter songs, you on that record?
Yep.
We were presenting that material. So at the end of, I think it was the third or fourth night, we did 4 gigs, I believe. So it might have been the last gig. He kind of walk over to me and he said, "I don't know, man, I'm really disappointed in the drummer, And I say, "You're disappointed?" And he said, "Yeah, man, he's just like, he just doesn't know about space." And I look at him, I say, "Okay." And I just left it alone because it was no way for me to tell him that he don't know what he's talking about. And I was in his country, and and Terrence was playing on his drums, it was like, I'm not going to tell a guy, that you absolutely have a clue about music, because Terrence has all these chops, he has all these abilities, and more than most guys I know, he knows when and when not to use them.
That tastefulness and that parable that you said about when and when not to use, that can be translated in and outside of music, I think, even in life in general, just knowing when and when not to use certain things you have at your hand. I think that's something that can translate to life in general. So I want to shift gears just a little bit, and then for those of us that are watching, again, you're watching Duets. I have Khris Royal here. I have George Porter Jr. We are here for MaCCNO. If you're watching, you want to donate on PayPal, again, it is at Music Culture 504. If you want to throw us something on Cash App, it's $ Music Culture 504. If you have $1 million for us, you can give us that on the website at MaCCNO.com. we will take that in small bills. No. So yeah, but no, we are back. And again, my name is Nate Cameron. So I wanna shift things a little bit. I want to bring it a little bit more local. I mean, we know that we come from a beautiful place. We come from a place that is entrenched in culture, that has put out so many legendary musicians, so many legendary, trends. George talked about it earlier, about this community being exploited, about this community and this musician community having so much to give and having so much creativity. And historically, we've been exploited. I'm a music business nerd. And so I not only read the liner notes, but I like to dig deep into group dynamics and what happened with this group and what happened with this label and why this person and this label didn't work out. And so, there's just a lot of different examples of how people from New Orleans, we don't have and have not had the infrastructure to teach us about the business side of things. That's one thing I'm a big proponent of, is really trying to get some infrastructure down here into teaching our folks how to be managers, how to be agents. I know once upon a time it was, kind of ideal to have an agent in New York or California. And that's no knock to anybody that does, but I do think also that representation and people that are a part of the same culture that you are can go a long way. And I think that kind of can bridge a lot of gaps that we've been missing music business wise. And so, I mean, just music business wise, as far as New Orleans is going, what do you think personally? I want to hear from, both of you about what do you think that, we can put here as musicians, and then also, governmental things. What are some things that you think that can happen that can bolster our musician community being more educated, being better? What are some suggestions you have that can happen?
Chris, you may want to take that one, because I kind of, personally, I remember about 25, maybe 30 years ago, the building at the end of Canal Street, the Chamber, is that what it was called? There was a company, there was like a group of big collared guys that sit around a big round table.
The Chamber of Commerce?
Chamber of Commerce?
The Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
By Harris, yes.
Okay, they contacted some musician, leaders,
Okay.
or people that had the name or something. I'm not sure, but I remember Ellis being one of them.
Okay.
Art Neville was invited, but he declined outright. And I went sort of like, I took Art's place because they didn't ask me, but I knew about it. I thought it might be a good idea for me to go to see what this is that they're talking about.
Of course.
Alan Toussaint and Earl King was there.
Wow. Okay.
And these guys, they started their meeting like they always start their meeting, talking up here,
Of course.
And it had nothing to do with what we did.
Yeah.
And then the first thing that came out the guy's mouth was he kind of looked at us sitting at the other end of the table, and he said, "This thing that you guys do, we need y'all to teach us how to do that." And Earl King got up and walked out the room.
Right.
And he got up and walked out the room. I said, "Bye." I got up and walked out the room too.
Wow.
And I kind of believe Ellis and Toussaint was not far behind.
Right.
Because the one thing that we were kind of, and the things that was thinking about, of course, we had no infrastructure for that business,
Right.
But the last thing that we wanted was the Chamber of Commerce of New Orleans, interfering with what little business we have going.
Yeah.
And that's like right now.
It's one big circle.
Yeah.
What do you saying as compared to kind of what's going on now? Chris,
Exactly.
I know you're more tapped into what's going on now.
Well, let's get right into it. It's like
Yeah.
we're not available. We can't work right now.
Exactly.
And so the question originally was a little bit bigger than I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it.
Take it
Basically, I think it starts small. We gotta be able to look at what's going on here and fix it and make it where everybody can work here before we can look at the big picture.
Yeah.
So it's like, they're saying that they're trying to help us and they're talking to us about how to get things rolling in a way that'll work for everybody safely. But I don't know who they're actually talking to. At least in your situation, they actually had y'all come sit at the table. Right now, they're saying they have people at the table, but we don't know who's at the table.
Right.
And they're saying they're talking to us, but they're not talking to us. Like who
is that person that's representing
sitting down? Because
Right.
the people don't feel represented. The people I play with, my colleagues don't feel represented right here. So I mean, and I get it. It come, we need help from higher up, and that's not coming. But I mean, I don't know. It's rough right now. I mean, my feelings about it.
Yeah, there's no real immediate answer for that problem.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah,
because
yeah. There's so many
because it's because what is like at some point, and I don't remember whether it probably was the 90s that kind of all of a sudden all of the musicians, the band leaders, kind of separated from the pack.
Mm-hmm.
And we all became individuals.
That's interesting.
I saw Bourbon Street turn into a cutthroat thing, where guys were going in and underbidding, the guys on a regular gig, to get that gig, and then before you know it, they had dwindled themselves down to playing for $1.50 an hour.
Exactly.
And it was like, and I was saying to myself, because I remember the pre-meters, we were on Bourbon Street for a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Yep.
And man, I remember Frogman Henry was across the street from us.
Wow, yeah.
And Cousin Joe was in the next block, in the middle of the block, the Quarter Two Sisters.
Oh wow.
Now, the three of us was on that in that I think it was the Ivanhoe was in the 700 block or the 800 blocks, maybe 600 block. I can't remember. 700 block maybe. And so we were in the 700 block. Frog was on that corner across the street, so he was in the 600 block, and Cousin Joe was in the middle of the block of the 700 block. And all the money was there in that little triangle, and it was like when the rest of Bourbon Street would close down,
Everybody come by y'all.
everybody came down. Now Frog would end an hour before us, usually, typically on a weekday night, we would end, the gig would be over at about 2:00.
Right.
On Friday, Saturday, Frog would end at, about 1:00.
Y'all out there.
We played at 6, but from 1 to 6 a.m., because the older guy that played opposite us, Jack Ziegler, he, his last set was from 11 to 12.
Wow.
And then we took over from 12 to 1. Yeah, that's what it was. So the gig was over. Frog would end at midnight.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
So we would end at 1:00 in the morning. So, we started, the rest of the clubs on the street was shut down. The music was shut down.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people and the bartenders and the waitresses and all them guys would just come down to the Ivanhoe, and the Ivanhoe would pack and roll until 6:00 in the morning.
Would y'all play, or would it be like
it would be us. It
Wow.
wasn't a jam session thing. But back in there, the union was pretty hot on your back about
Gotcha.
who was on stage.
Yeah, that's what's up.
And Mr. Green, I remember Mr. Green. Mr. Green would come stand in the door and say, "I'm watching you."
Wow.
And
So y'all were all in the union.
Oh yeah, we were all union.
Wow.
I've been in the union since I was 15 years old.
Interesting.
Wow.
And I'm still in it.
Yeah.
And what you call it? I got one of those pins.
Commemorative pins.
I don't know how commemorative it is. But I think it means that I'm legitimate.
I mean, but I think something important from what you said. I mean, a lot of things from what you said, but one thing that I took away from it, definitely was that you all had an ecosystem.
Yeah.
And you all communicated within that ecosystem for you to still now to this day know what time your contemporary set ended and that you all worked around that so that everybody kind of made money, that is essential, I think, and it speaks to the culture of what New Orleans at its core, the culture community, the musician community. That's how it was started. It was started with everybody helping everybody. I mean, and even that, we can bring that back to the tribal cultural practices all the way back to Africa and other places.
Absolutely.
Just the community sense of it. And so I think sometimes this digital age, we kind of lose some of that. But I think
we've lost it. It's not lose. I mean, it's me. You know, and that's an unfortunate part about it because, you know, when we start discussing the more me, the more me, you know, it's like, you know, it's automatically it just wipes everything else off the table, and so now you're out there alone, and if you don't know something. And because you done already isolated yourself, and nobody else is going to give you any information.
That's exactly what's happening right now on Freshman Street.
Wow.
You know, these guys, everybody's just thinking about themselves, and they're undercutting everybody, and they're playing the gigs for free.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you know, first of all, bro, it shouldn't be a single music room in the city of New Orleans where it's a dough gig.
Yeah. Amen.
You know, it shouldn't.
Amen.
That's just absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and I understand why it is and why it happened.
Right.
But it happened because we allowed it.
But it's worse than that, though. It's not even a door gig. People are playing for free, literally for free. They don't even. There's not a cover on the door.
Yeah.
But it's deeper than that because it goes back to what's happening on Perdido Street. Because they need to change the laws so that these clubs on Frenchman Street can legally charge a cover so that musicians can be paid.
Yeah.
They legally can't do it, and they won't do it.
I didn't know that.
No, they can't.
Yeah.
They can't charge a cover. It's like some of them can do it like 4 nights a week.
I know there's some kind
4
of
nights
limitations.
a year, I believe.
There's definitely some kind of limitation. I'm not familiar with it.
But certain clubs can do that, but certain clubs can't.
Yeah, because some of them are grandfathered in.
But most of them, and the DBAs.
DBA, Blue Now.
That's it. No,
those are the only ones that can charge a cover, and that's the only ones that do.
And how
but
they got
now even like Blue Now doesn't charge a cover now because the entire street is kind of operating in this limbo. They're not. They can. Okay, we're gonna have these bands play, and we'll just give them 20% of the bar instead of paying them like we should, or paying them from a cover, or like you were saying, giving them a guarantee, which they should be getting.
Right.
But like these bands don't even know they should be getting paid because they've been playing for free since they were in high school.
And they figure that it's culture. That's another thing too. I get a lot of, and I'm guilty of this. I'm sure we all coming up in the game. It's almost ingrained in you as a young musician coming from New Orleans that it's kind of cultural for you to pay your dues, and paying your dues includes like not getting paid for gigs, doing gigs for drinks.
Those sets were sets like that's like the 6 to 10 o'clock set. Like that's the opening set. Yes, I understand that that's supposed to be for kids in school, high school kids and cats at
jumping off the porch.
But if you're playing at 10 to 1 o'clock, you should be getting paid.
Exactly.
Yeah. No argument there. Like you deserve to be paid.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I definitely think that's something that, you know, that we let get away from us as an artist community. And I think a lot of that, you know, just a lot of the lack of unity and talking to folks, and we just got, you know, and I think a lot of that, it's a lot of different things, a lot of systematic reasons why that has happened. I'm sure some folks had a scarcity mindset, you know, that they just figure there's a finite amount of resources and gigs, so let me hoard these. And that's for a lot of different reasons. I mean, but I mean, even kind of bringing it to now, I mean, you know, let's speak on it. There was the church, you know, the church gathering at Jackson Square. Well, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and obviously, you know, there was a lot of contention between the local government and NOPD and the musician and culture bearer community, because a lot of us have been adhering to the rules and staying home and not gigging and taking huge hits. You know, a lot of us I know that this is touring season, and so we're taking a lot of huge hits, and to see something like that go down and not, you know, and kind of not be addressed as well as something that, you know, the natives would have done, how that would have been addressed. I've seen, just from my personal view, I've seen Under the Bridge be broken up by police, even pre-COVID. And I've heard of, times Under the Bridge by Kermit, there'd be gatherings in these black neighborhoods and they break it up. And so I just want to hear just your views on, there's a lot of different theories and a lot of different views on how people feel about, but just, it has not rubbed the musician and culture bearer community well. And the relationship between us and, some of the governmental issues in NOPD has not been a good one. But yeah, what do you, I know, Chris, we talked about it and we've talked about it online a lot. What are your views on just how that went down?
Obviously a lot of you have heard me talk about it, but I feel like it's a huge slap in the face because we've just been sitting at home, not working, sitting on our thumbs, and everybody else has been able to go back to work. You can sit in a restaurant or a bar without a mask on and drink and eat, but we can't have a socially distant show. Like, for existence, example, when right here, there's maybe 3 people here, we could have at least 10 seating areas where people are 6 feet apart. Everybody can sit here and enjoy music, socially distanced, with a mask on, but you can go sit in a restaurant without a mask on and eat. It doesn't make sense. It's not fair to us, man. Like, we deserve better because everybody comes to New Orleans for the culture. So, like, why isn't the city supporting the culture? I don't know.
Yeah. What'd you have to say about that, George?
It saddens me. It just saddens me because, a couple of weeks ago, I actually took a drive. It's probably like about 11:30, 12 o'clock one night. I was at home looking at television and got really bored. And so me and Vicky got in the car. Vicky is my dog.
I know.
I didn't want to start no confusion.
Uh-oh.
Clear it up.
Clear that up because we went got in the car and just took a ride, and it ended up on Claiborne Avenue and got down, this might be maybe a little longer than a couple of weeks ago, but got down where the Cato place is.
Yeah, mother-in-law.
And man, it must have been 400-500 people, and I was like, no, man, we can't be doing this. I didn't understand why. And truthfully, there was no police nowhere to be found.
This was at night?
This was at night.
Okay.
This was just like 12 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow.
And I'm saying, and obviously I think it might have been like, they were all out in the street and under the bridge, and car, they had the jukeboxes and the car, because you can every 15 feet you heard a different song.
Oh, so everybody's just hanging out partying in the parking lot.
On PA system, But it was like, I just thought that was very, I thought, man, this is not helping us. This is not helping us. Yeah. But and then so at that point, I had to go. I was like, man, I gotta go to Bourbon Street now. I have to go down to the quarters because I just gotta
see what's going on.
To see if this is happening over there. Yeah. And it was happening over there too.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, myself, what are they doing? This is not cool. This, if it was 8 weeks ago, then we were still like
locked down.
It should be locked down.
3.3 or whatever. Right now.
And I just felt so uncomfortable. And I remember going home and calling Denise. Well, I think I called her before we got home and told her what I saw.
Yeah.
Wow. And I say, man, this is scary. I'm scared of this.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to go nowhere.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm here is only because I trust.
Yeah.
The people that I'm here with.
Right.
Of course.
Other than that, I don't want to go anywhere, you know, and that's bad. I mean, that's just it's like a shame. That's shameful.
I mean, kind of what I was saying. Culturally, we are a gathering culture, just like you said. I mean, I grew up just like, and I mean, very similar to a lot of people. I grew up being 2 and 3 years old, going to the second line.
Yeah,
I got pictures of me barely walking. You know, with my mom got me on tour at the. I mean, literally, we are birthed and raised in a culture of gathering. Yeah, you know, and so. You know, I think because of that, you know, there has to be, you know, we definitely need some clear directives from the powers that be on what can and can't happen because the natural way of things in New Orleans is gathering. It's gathering. It's embracing each other. I even talked about that. I mean, just being from not hugging, that's affecting. I had a friend who was saying how mentally that was affecting them, that they had not hugged their friends in so long. And I didn't think about how just culturally we're used to that. We're used to small spaces. We're used to making little things work out and being tight with each other and juking it out in hot places until we can't move no more 6 a.m. I mean, so I mean, I think that's why that's important to have those things in line because we're not like everywhere else. Everywhere else, they party, but we gather here. It's the difference between partying and gather. We gather here. We'll come to your mom and them house and eat some fish and red beans with you and be right in the mystery. So, I mean, I think that's why it's important to have those guidelines. So I want to just chime in here also and just let you know, again, you are listening and looking at Duets here with Khris Royal, George Porter. We are here in the High Ho Lounge in New Orleans. Please, if you want to donate, PayPal is at Music Culture 504. Cash App is $ Music Culture 504. And the website is MaCCNO.com. We have a time check to see how much time we got in. Because look, I'll get into it all day with these fellas, man. Yes, so look, here's one thing that I do want to touch on is I want everybody to just tell me what it is that you're doing now. What is it that you're doing, you know, since COVID? Obviously, we know that we've had to pivot. I've seen you both doing some different things. I just wanted you to just speak to what is it that you're doing now, or what is it that you've gotten better at since COVID has happened. I wanted to, you know, we talk about some good things. We've talked about some of the ugly. Let's talk about some good things. So speak to something that you've pivoted to that you didn't think you'd be doing, but you got better at it since this whole thing's going on.
Man, in the beginning of this whole lockdown, it was so much fun for me because, like, normally I have to learn 20 songs for this gig on Friday and another 20 songs for a gig on Saturday. And now I just have time to sit in the studio and work on all these ideas I have up here. I've just been sitting in the studio. Well, in the beginning, I was just sitting in the studio for working on music. And then I realized I had everything I needed to put a show on from my house. So I took over the dining room and I made like a video. A lot of y'all may have seen it.
Yes, look up Chris's Twitter. When this first started, Khris, one of the first musicians that I saw that did a DJ session, had it going, set up OBS. I mean, I know personally, he inspired a lot of other musicians to kind of go learn OBS, go learn Twitch, and kind of delve into those realms.
And do it the right way, not just with a phone, and you know, like to really have the sound dialed in right. So that was like the first week. Yeah. And then I haven't talked to a lot of people about this, but the second week, this is like March 14th. So the second week of lockdown, I actually was sick with COVID. Wow. And I haven't told people outside of my circle. Yeah. Wow. So I still streamed those 2 weeks I was sick. Quarantine. And it's funny, Alan Dalton actually was the person that called me out on stream on Twitch, was like, man, why you keep coughing? And I didn't say anything. Yeah. But I had COVID. Wow. But pushed through that and then continued to work on music, man. It's been so awesome to just have time to work on original music.
That's good.
So that's really what I've been doing this whole time. Just streaming from my house and working, writing.
Good. It's about the same with me as with our running partners. Everybody has their own studio except for Terrence, but Terrence has access to a studio. Beautiful. Michael Limler and Chris Atkins and myself, we've just been recording. We've been recording, working in Pro Tools Cloud. Yeah. And it's been going really well. We what I originally did. Now, the whole idea is once I realized that I wasn't going to be seen outside much.
Yeah.
The first thing I did is went up to the third floor.
Yep.
Went up to the third floor and opened that hard drive up and said,
Yep.
huh.
What
we
you
go.
got
And
in
I
there?
looked at
Close
the Running Partners record that I had recorded, almost 8 years ago with Brent Anderson on guitar and everything. And I said, man, this is some good songs here,
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm gonna replace the because Khris was in the band now, and I was really enjoying where he's at, so I want to replace it. And so I pulled about 4 or 5 of those, and I was talking to Limler, and I said, because Limler taught me how. We both got into this cloud thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick your brain about that one.
4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago.
Okay.
And never used it.
Yeah.
This is the Pro Tools cloud we're talking about.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We both, in fact, I kind of invested in Michael getting in the program. I said, man, we should have the same thing.
Wow.
Because it was like, I always said Michael Limler is my band leader. He's the musical director. And so I say, you need to have the same thing I got.
Right.
So when I do things and you take it over, you dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
You're not going with, like his version is two town size smaller than mine.
Same program.
So same program, same thing.
Same session.
So he say, okay, well, I'll tell you what, give me a couple of days, let me read into it and see how we're going to do it. And he called me back one day and said, okay, let's do this. And I started, he showed me what I needed to do to upload the songs and the thing. Now I'm uploading these 4 or 5 songs and then he takes them and he's looking at them, tweaking them and making them things up and then sending it back to me. But all of a sudden, man, I'm starting writing.
Yeah.
So I wrote 13 songs.
There you go.
That's awesome.
And I was like, wow, man, where is this coming from? So we got those 5 done. The first 5 went down like because they were already there.
Yeah.
But then when we so I started sending them bass lines and thing, and he would spell out the parts that I did. Write a click track to it, and then send it back to me, and for me to spell it out how I want it. But at this point now it's all gridded,
right?
So I can take it, and dropping things in places,
right
and see, and we basically learned a new technology.
That's awesome.
We learn how to use the tech part of what we all used to claim that, bro, ain't music.
Yeah.
Well, I've determined now that it is very music.
You have switched it. It is indeed.
Yeah, it is indeed music.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of our folks. I think a lot of our folks are missing that know-how too. I think a lot of stuff that I gained. I know a lot of stuff that we all have gained in knowing that has come from us having circles and networks outside of New Orleans and sometimes even outside of the United States. One of my tech go-to guys is my buddy that's in Norway who I met on tour, going to Norway, and I just kind of ping his brain when I have different things going on. But, that kind of goes back to us not having infrastructure for a lot of that stuff here. We don't have a lot of that stuff kind of developing here,
Man, I'm so thankful to George because, exactly what he's talking about. I was on the road with George, watching him learn stuff in Pro Tools, and when he would get stuck, he would always call Tracy, and that's who engineers all my records.
Okay.
So now when I want to learn something about Pro Tools, I'm calling Tracy. So
That's awesome.
George has influenced me in more ways than y'all will ever know, man. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. So first of all, music-wise, we've talked about these community issues. We talked about what you all have learned musically. What's coming up musically next for you? You always got something going on, but what's some stuff we can look forward to musically from Khris Royal?
Oh man, so I had a buddy of mine, Craig, who I went to Berkeley with, who's in town right now. He just hit me up yesterday. He was like, "Yo, what you doing? Come over to Nutrisound. I'm hanging out if you want to work on some music." So we went in there, and he pulled up a drum loop, and I'm messing with the Moog, and I'm messing with the Prophet, and literally I was like, "Yo, hit record," and we wrote a song in 2 minutes, and they're still working on it right now. I love the studio.
Oh, you jumping in, jumping back.
Come back over here, man.
See?
We wrote a song. We worked
Working,
on it like
working.
6 hours straight yesterday. So yeah, we got something coming out. I don't know how we're gonna release it. It might not be Khris Royal or Dark Matter, but this song will be coming out in the next couple of months.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
the same thing with the running partners. We got 13, 12, 13 songs recorded.
Wow.
It'll be 12.
Nice.
And I think like I did with my last record. I gave away 2 songs on from the last record, and put 12 on it instead of 14 is like a weird number to put on a record. So
especially these days.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I put 12. 12 will be the leg of the song of the record. And this, something I did this year, Chris, that I've never done before. Almost all of the songs are at 5 or very right close to 5. Usually my stuff is 6 minutes long.
6 minutes, 30 seconds.
And it's like, and it was like, it was strange, because I was like not consciously thinking, but it was like, okay, that's the end of the song.
Right.
This is up. And it was, when I look at the bars, and then I look under it, and they have the minutes and time. I say, wow, 4:38. Oh, cool.
Definitely gonna play that on OZ.
Yeah, they know that. I mean, I got some airplay stuff here.
There you go.
No excuse. They got no excuse.
Right.
No. So yeah, I mean, I definitely, as we wind this thing down, I definitely want to personally thank Chris and George for joining me. As you are watching this, there are going to be some links up that's telling you how to get to Chris's music. I know Chris has a new single and video that he just put out. What's the name of that video you
I
put out?
Can't Breathe, featuring Nigel Hall.
Beautiful, which is a powerful song, very powerful, very necessary song. So make sure you check that out. I know George has a myriad of things out. And also, again, we want to, before we go, we have to thank Hi Ho Lounge. Shout out to Hi Ho Lounge, the staff, Michael, Alice, all of the sound crew, everybody. We definitely love you guys, and we appreciate you all for what you all do and the integrity that you all bring to the music community. That's very important. And so, again, if you want to donate, PayPal is at Music Culture 504. Cash App is the music sign. I mean, a dollar sign, sorry. Music Culture 504. Hey, we can do the music sign too. As long as it finds its way to us. Website is MaCCNO, MaCCNO.com. And for those of you who do not know, MaCCNO stands for the Music and Culture Coalition of New Orleans. I sit on the board. And we just do a lot of work for artist advocacy and policy work. We are going to bat with, some of the powers that be about getting our culture bearers and musicians not only heard and respected, and not only a seat at the table, but an important seat at the table, and a seat at the table that it goes through them before certain decisions are made. And so your money will be going to artist relief programs that we put on. We're putting on different programming such as this, where we are normalizing paying our culture bearers and musicians to talk about their experiences. I think a lot of times we expect these musicians and these culture bearers to just talk about what they've gone through and what they've learned for free, and we kind of talked about it in our conversation about our culture being a culture that's kind of wide open and has been exploited historically. But, I think it's a new day for New Orleans creators to take equity and ownership in what they have, and for us to create people that look like us and that are from here, that are controlling the management side of things and are controlling the label operation side of things. And so, I just want to thank you two for coming here. I appreciate your time, your effort. I want to thank everybody for watching. I appreciate you all. Hopefully we're going to keep this thing going. We were intentionally planning to do this for the month for the fundraiser, but it's been a really good response. So I think we're going to kind of figure out a way to keep this thing going. So please stay tuned. We love y'all. Much love. Stay safe.
Got a commercial.
Mask up. Yeah.
I got a commercial.
What you got? Yes, sir.
So, just for the record, if you're ever in the Uptown neighborhood, December 3rd, the Porter Trio will be playing. They've been doing the Maple Leaf. Has been doing what they call the Maple Leaf in Exile.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
At the Southport Music Hall. So this December 3rd, we're gonna be doing one of those sets outside.
I'm coming.
It's an outside thing. It's outside, and and it went really well. We did it a couple of weeks ago, and it was really, really good. And tickets go fast. They only sell 100 tickets.
Okay.
But
Can you put me on your guest list?
absolutely, Chris.
Cool.
Yes, we'll make sure we get that link from you, and we'll post
Yeah.
it on the MaCCNO page so that we can.
It sounds great,
share
you know,
that so we can-
and you know, be on the lookout, man. This is really a great thing that y'all doing here. I had no idea about all this, but I got the call, and I said, hey, sure, let's do this. I'm in. Count me in,
Definitely appreciate it.
and thanks for having me.
Thank
Yeah.
y'all, man. Thank y'all. Appreciate you all
Yeah,
both.
definitely. Thank you,
Again,
MaCCNO, for having
yeah.
us, and thank you for all that y'all do.
Of course. Thank y'all, man. We're going to sign off from here at the High Hole, MaCCNO Duets. Khris Royal, George Porter, we out.
You're right.
Peace. Oh, no.